you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, October 11th, 2025. And if we look at that, my God, we are 11 weeks till Christmas and can't wait to see what kind of fun things are going to be coming from Santa Claus to FedEx to all of our great fans out there. You know who we're talking about, my friends. On that note, let's go ahead and take a look and see who the hell we have out in the chat right now. It's a little slow today, but you know what? Let's have some fun anyway. Let's bring up the participants and welcome in Amiga Rules. Good to see you, my friend. We've got Andy W. He is in the chat and he is in the back. We got Brennan England, who is in the back, in the chat. Either way, I can't get it. Brains is here along with Kathy Spire. We got the Chromosome Cowboy. Craig Smith is in the chat along with Daryl, Mr. Live Long and Prosper. Hopefully those video feeds helped last night. Yeah, and that one channel he gave me, all the content's now magically gone. Who else we have there? We've got Eliza Teal, Eric Groth, and the Gurus. Frank Cathell is here along with Gray Hair Discoveries. I see Jason 1978 along with J-Cat, Joey Stoner, John Smith, Kathy, and Kelly Brote. And those piercing blue eyes is absent, but I know you'll show up soon, Kelly, because you always do. Maritime Unprepared is here along with Mr. Grimlock, Mr. X, and Mr. Catfish 2100. The three misters are here except Mr. Catfish 2100. One of our first viewers. Good to see Catfish. Ms. Cutsout's here along with Nate Lowe. We got Nightshide Giggles in the chat. We got Niku. I think that's right. There should be a capital Q there, maybe. Roni Deals here along with Sam, Shelley Montgomery, Stargazer 46 and 2, Super Unknown, and Yurgi. And on that note, Mike, let me go ahead and do this and this again. Mike, Disclosure, how the hell are you?
Doing well. Actually, today, Saturday, is turning out to be very interesting, and I know we have a lot to talk about today. It's going to be a good show.
Yeah, anytime we can talk about UFOs, like the one that was seen here over Woodinville, Washington, that had an operating temperature of negative 60 degrees Celsius, it's always engaging, Mike.
Oh, you are correct, sir. Yeah. It absolutely is. That's how we know it's legitimate.
But we forgot to ask the scientist, of those 5 sightings that you had, how many of those came from Dave Mason and his equipment? Probably all of them.
Probably. Good point.
Oh, good points. Well, let me go ahead and jump in this really quick. If you missed it last night, folks, yes, the Aurora Borealis popped out again. This is coming to us from aurorasaurus.org in, I think it's North Dakota for that matter, or South Dakota. It was really interesting. A lot of stuff going up and down and just pulsating. And this is all real-time video, my friends. The coronal stream is just about to hit our planet at this point, Mike. And can't wait to see where all of it's going to go. If you've got clear skies, unlike here in Washington State, where it's cloudy and rainy this time of year, there's a good chance you might see the Aurora Borealis again tonight, Mike.
Yeah, that would be nice, especially in your part. It's hard to see it usually.
Yeah, it is. And if there's anyone in the UK and it's clear, or Northern Europe or anything, it's here. The BZ level is low. That means when it's going low, the aurora is beautiful in there. But if you watch it spike up, that means substorm, and the skies will blow up beautifully, my friend. Back to the world of UFOs and disclosure. There are so many things going on, Mike. I don't know where to start.
At the top, usually. First bookmark. We'll go there.
In other words, things are going kind of slow out there in Disclosure Land with the House of Representatives out on vacation at the current time. But why are they getting paid? Should they be getting paid? I don't think so.
No.
If the federal government is shut down, Congress doesn't deserve a paycheck because it's their fucking fault, right?
It is, but they get paid regardless.
Yes, I've heard there are some House representatives who are looking to change that. That'd be nice.
Burchett is one of them, but
yeah,
I don't think it's going to pass.
He was also one of the ones who's trying to stop the insider trading that, like, Nancy Pelosi has become famous for.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people in Congress, they hear about things going on, and they go out and buy right before the big news comes out, and poof, they're millionaires, like that. Yeah. One of those days. But getting back to Disclosure, We did actually have a story pop up today coming to us from Chris Mellon. Let me make another copy of this so I can go through this as we're going through it. Wow. This is odd. I need to bring this up really quick. I just went to Brave and brought up a new tab. And Brave must be watching me because it threw up pictures of the Aurora Borealis. We were just talking about this. That is suspicious, Mike.
It's listening to you, Thomas.
Oh, yeah, more than you'll think. Let me go ahead and get to this one here. Actually going to get to that story there. All right, bring this over here so I can go ahead and read it. Oh, I'll bring this one over here because it's bigger enough. Okay, coming to us, my friend, from the San Francisco Chronicle. Really? Let's get into this. Not just from the San Francisco Chronicle. We got a story coming to us, believe it or not, from Christopher Mellon. Gosh, is he part of the Mellon banking family, those billionaires out there, Mike? And he would never have to really work again, but he's done it for posterity?
Yeah, that's who it is. You're correct.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let's get into this story. Yes, we've had the recent UFO hearing and everything coming up. Put this someplace where I can go ahead and read it. Christopher Mellon is taking no prisoners on this one, my friend. Let's get into it. Okay, so a recent congressional hearing, if you all remember, the public fixated on leaked video appearing to show a U.S. missile striking an unidentified object off of Yemen in 2024. Whatever the object was, one pressing question is why it took a leak rather than government disclosure for the public to truly see it, Mike. Christopher Mellon has spent more than 30 years inside the U.S. intelligence community, including serving as Deputy Assistant Secretary for Defense for Intelligence and latter as a consultant to the military. During those years, he witnessed a troubling pattern. Incidents of unidentified anomalous phenomena, or UAP, but let's just call them UFOs to make it easier, folks, were detected by cutting-edge radar and cutting-edge radar and other systems, but routinely dismissed, buried, or classified beyond justification. In 2017, yes, that's right, Christopher Mellon helped bring footage out of 3 UAP encounters to the public. I guess, Mike, wasn't it passed from Lou Elizondo to Christopher Mellon in a parking lot of the Pentagon?
Yes, but initially that was not the case. It was stated for the New York Times article that an anonymous individual was involved, but the truth came out over 8 years.
Usually does.
From Christopher Mellon. No, Christopher Mellon was the one who finally came out years later and admitted that it was Lou.
Just like Lou said he didn't have his emails, but he had in one of his interviews, he talked about going and hiding them in the barbecue grill of the neighbors next door. Sometimes you have to think outside of the box or inside of the grill at this point.
That's right.
So those clips, if you remember, were recorded on advanced infrared cameras by Navy aviators, forced the Pentagon to admit that UAP is real. And actually, they also started the UAP task force. And was it headed up by the Air Force, Mike?
Yes, it was.
No, it was headed up by the Navy.
Oh, no, that's right. The task force was under the Navy initially.
Yeah, and that's when we actually got some answers.
Right. It was the Air Force that was dealing with Space Force. And the NGA.
Well, there wasn't even
NRO.
Space Force then yet.
No, not at that time.
Yeah.
But the Air Force has been involved in a lot of the cover-up that we've been dealing with.
Yeah.
That's what I meant to say. So, guys, continue.
Sorry to put you on point, my friend.
Okay.
So those clips were recorded on advanced infrared cameras by Navy aviators, forced the Pentagon to admit UAP is real. Since then, academia, startups, civil society groups, the U.S. government, and foreign governments have attempted to better understand UAP. Well, the United States government has done their job to not let the public better understand UAP, because after that happened, after the first UAP hearing, Mike, our federal government locked down any information related to UAP, whether it's classified or not, and considered it top secret. Seems like a cover-up to me.
Oh, like Tim Burchett would say, of course it's a cover-up.
Yeah, we got a clip we can replay of him again today. Lawmakers are over on meeting with Tucker Carlson. All right, lawmakers are holding hearings and classified briefings, but progress remains halting. After they released the Navy videos, the intelligence community reclassified, like we just said, almost everything concerning UAP, slowing disclosure to a trickle. On purpose, my friends. They don't want us to have the truth. Mike, you know why they don't want us to have the truth? It's not because it's so good. It's because it's
something that will scare the shit out of the population.
Oh, yeah. It'll ruin their stock market investments.
Oh, it would destabilize a lot of things, including the financial markets.
But sometimes you need a little bit of chaos. Just think Jurassic Park.
Yep. So change would definitely come from new information like that. Yeah.
So rather than honor its pledge to Congress to support UAP transparency, the Pentagon doubled down and continues a slow drip. Thanks to Susan Goff. Luckily, you're lucky, Mike. I hid her picture. I'm going to have to find it because I will bring her up shortly.
Oh, please don't.
We have to.
Oh, God, no.
Just to deal with your grief and sharing it, my friend. So while Christopher Mellon doesn't have a precise number, even that's possibly classified, but among thousands of publicly acknowledged UAP reports and videos, there are undoubtedly many that are no more sensitive than the three I shared with the public. Other UAP records may go back 80 years and pose no conceivable threat to national security if they were made public, Mike, but they would. You know why? Because it would expose the truth that in 1947, the United States became the national security state of America, and we are no longer the United States of America. The rights for privacy, the rights for information to be shared with Congress and the public were completely lobotomized in the guise of what they call national security.
Correct. Unfortunately.
Yeah. So how can the government assert that nearly everything about UAP should be classified? Because it would interrupt Christianity, maybe. You never know. Once made public, the three Navy UAP videos strengthen national security by drawing attention to unexplained intrusions into the U.S. airspace that Lou Elizondo said would be worse than, I believe it was Pearl Harbor and 9/11 combined. Instead of working with Congress to enhance our domain awareness, the intelligence community created a new UAP classification rules, cloaking such videos going forward. Videos, releases of text, pictures, anything. But unfortunately, secrecy is often wielded not to protect the nation, but to mask the inconvenient truths. Christopher has seen many documents that were overclassified by zealous security officials, but excessive secrecy erodes public trust, deprives scientists of crucial data, and undermines congressional oversight. But Mike, isn't that why we have the ODNI, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence? Because this exact problem is what led to what happened on 9/11, and that's why the ODNI was there to make sure things weren't too overly classified, and that the information needs to be shared between agencies. But it seems like even though under the Biden administration, this was one of the hallmark moments for then Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines, she was completely shut down by career bureaucrats basically saying, we don't agree. You're only a temporary employee here. We're here forever, and we are never going to give the truth. Does that sound about accurate, Mike?
Oh, that's 100% accurate, Thomas. That's the problem with the bureaucracy and the red tape. The truth will never come out.
Yeah, you better believe it, my friend. So it may also be illegal, and it probably is. That's why we talk about the United Security State of America, because that's where we're at, my friend. Federal law, although it's not regularly followed, requires the government to transfer UAP records of the National Archives for public release, yet the collection so far remains piddling like a puppy on the carpet, Mike. A presidential executive order forbids classifying records to prevent embarrassment or conceal violations of law. Quote, if there is significant doubt about the needs to classify information, end quote, the order continues. Quote, it shall not be classified. So, Mike, isn't there a law regarding the classification of information that if it's classified for so many years by law, it's supposed to be mandatorily unclassified?
25 years, Thomas.
So all the stuff from Roswell that happened more than 75 years ago, if not closer to 80 now, that should be unclassified.
It should have been, yes.
Should have been. But the
government also likes to say, we lost the records, we can't find them, they never existed.
The people are dead. There's no information here, folks. Just move along. But you know what? We're not moving along.
No, we're not.
Meanwhile, the Bipartisan UAP Disclosure Act, a landmark bill that once passed in the Senate, would establish a new declassification guide for UAP, an amendment to the defense bill. The Bipartisan UAP Disclosure Act, if enacted, which it fucking failed, I hate to say it, would establish a comprehensive framework for the shepherd of disclosure. But, Mike, we know that was flawed legislation. The first year was introduced. The second year is introduced. We're like, why are we going here again? The third one, it's kind of like, they're going to strike this thing out. It's never going to make it. It's going to die, and it should have died after the first year it happened. But for some reason, those in control of trying to get rid of disclosure, to open up UAP disclosure, Mike, have had their heads up Carl Nell's ass, the man who will never make general, if I remember.
Yep, you're correct. The colonel would not make general.
Yeah. So while Christopher Mellon hoped Congress passes this legislation, it didn't happen. If I remember right, Mike, there was actually some language that came in for whistleblowers in the NDAA. I know I've got a bookmark. I'm going to have to find it. That basically clamps down more on whistleblowers and reminds them that certain things, certain events that may have been witnessed cannot be disclosed. So they're still trying to clamp it down, even though we did get the ability for the United States government to go ahead and shoot down UAS, which is the new word for drones, or better more in some cases, UAP or UFOs for that matter. They can still shoot the shit down. But that's where they're going.
Well, yeah. Even if they did, though, we saw the Hellfire video that Burleson released. It really wouldn't do much good on a real UAP, would it?
Oh, hell no. It bounced right off, didn't it?
Oh, it did. So, yeah, even if this law goes through and they now begin to try to shoot these things down, they're not going to have any effect on a real UAP.
Oh, it never does, Mike. It never does. Mm-hmm. Let me see if I can get this here. Give me a second. I'm going to put this on quiet in the background, just some additional pictures up as we're talking about this article here. Here we have just some videos of that last hearing that happened in the background, just to remind us of what happened. More importantly, what didn't happen. All right, where was... I don't want to show that. I want to bring this up. Let me get to this one here. Hold on. There we go. Let's get into this a little bit more. Okay, that looks better. Okay, but legislation, Mike, is not the only tool. This is why the UAP Disclosure Fund, oh my God, a nonprofit organization where Christopher Mellon is the board chair, is attempting to take action. They are filing a battery of requests under the Freedom of Information Act to obtain UAP records for the government. Mike, you have to wonder if they're trying to go ahead and do FOIAs to get UAP records out of the government. Why the fuck aren't they working with John Greenwald?
Well, it's doomed to failure, even if they did, Thomas.
I know, but if you want to FOIA the government about UFOs, the person you want to bring with, even though he may be on the other side of the fence, this is what we call the need for a bipartisan working together. And it's not happening.
No.
So if necessary, they will litigate these requests in federal court. These, which clearly Christopher Mellon can afford. These requests include those for records the government acknowledged exists are not released. For example, according to a now public memorandum entitled Flying Discs housed in the National Archives, in 1948, the Air Force ordered round-the-clock fighters equipped with gun camera and such armaments deemed advisable in order to secure photographs of those phenomena. Mike, where are those photographs? They took them.
Yep.
Why isn't it public information?
Because they don't want the public to see what they were. That's why. They don't want it out.
In other words, it's a cover-up.
Oh, yeah.
So
the gentleman from Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. Tim Burchett, yes. So Christopher Mellon and the UAPDF is also calling for more recent reports that can be released without compromising sensitive technologies and documents that could reveal how UAP data has been analyzed or, more importantly, suppressed. We need progress now, especially now, because why? Disclosure has effectively been shut down in Washington these days, folks. There's nothing really going on. Granted, the House is out. The Senate is still in session. The Senate really is disconnected from all of disclosure, but we need more. We need progress now. In a democracy, public debate makes better policy, but that isn't happening when it comes to UAP. Where are the town halls that would travel around America, Mike, and have the major news bureaus go ahead and bring these things on television for people around the world to see? Well, television and social media, for that matter. If some of these objects are foreign surveillance platforms like from China, or Russia, or Iran for that matter, every moment of undue secrecy weakens our defense. Even Tim Burchett, in his interview recently with Tucker Carlson, said the drones that we saw that were happening in New Jersey, going from mid-November through the end of December of last year, were from China. Would like to know where he knows it from. If they do represent a natural phenomena, understanding them is critical to aviation safety. Like, they're animals, Mike?
No, they're not animals, Thomas.
I didn't think so.
Right.
Natural phenomena, yeah. But if they were here before us and they helped create man, would they be natural? You never know.
Could be.
Yeah.
It depends on how you interpret it, yeah.
Yeah, if they do represent other phenomena we do not yet understand. Don't scroll on me. Disclosure is the first step towards serious scientific study. This is a great op-ed coming from Christopher Mellon, my friend.
Yeah, he put his heart into this one.
Sorry, guys. Message is off in the back during the show. It gets in the way of the show. So here we go. We got Danny Sheen in the back here, the attorney who's been going and trying to fight for disclosure for a long time. One thing about Danny Sheen, it's a shame, Mike, when we were on a round table with Sean Cahill, Lou Elizondo, and Danny Sheen about 3 years ago at this point. It seems like it was yesterday, but wasn't too long ago. Danny Sheen, who's one of our nation's best constitutional attorneys, had said on Disclosure tonight that he plans to go ahead and challenge the constitutionality of the National Disclosure Act that came into power in 1947. Unfortunately, someone's may have gotten to him, Mike, because since that roundtable, Danny has not talked much about it, has he?
No, he hasn't. And nothing has moved forward since then.
Oh, but there has. Topic. You can get a degree from Danny Sheehan with coordination from Ubiquity University for a master's degree in UFOs.
Right. But I was referencing the fact that the National Security Act of 1947 is, in fact, unconstitutional. No movement on that has gone forward from Danny.
No. Unfortunately.
Right.
That takes us back to here. And yes, interesting points coming from Christopher Mellon, but what do we say? It's quiet out there these days. More than we would ever like.
Yeah.
Let's see what we have from the UFO shit show here.
Temporarily at the moment.
Oh, yeah. All right. Remember, folks, if you're from the United Kingdom, think before you post.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds kind of fascist, doesn't it?
Right out of China.
Yes, it
Russia.
does, my friend.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I need to find this one article. Give me a second. We get back in the studio here. I know I grabbed this one earlier today. There was something about the ESA went and, let's see, I'm going to search at the top. Here we go. I think this is correct. No, okay, let's just run with it. This is coming to us from someone on Twitter who doesn't have the best record for good information, but let's just classify this. This looks like it's accurate, Mike, but it may be disinformation, but let's cover it anyway with that caveat. Sound good to you? Sound good to you?
Yeah. Okay.
So talking about Three Eye Atlas, my friend, our favorite pastime here at Disclosure tonight. Bombshell! The ESA, the European Space Agency, embargoed Three Eye Atlas spectroscopic data for 74 fucking years, Mike. In a surprising move, while most sensor data collected on 3A Atlas has been embargoed by the ESA until the 3rd of April, 2026, they have listed the spectroscopic data as unavailable until January 1st, 2099. The Planetary Science Archive lists a total of 480 3I Atlas raw sensor data files. While embargoed are not unusual to allow the scientific community to assess the data and publish their findings, a 74-year-long embargo is pretty much unprecedented. Spectroscopic data from 3 Atlas could reveal unexpected chemical signatures like unusual isotopes, rare minerals, or even biosignatures that might spark speculation. Before we go any further, looks like Andy, you have your hand up, my friend. Go ahead.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. 74 years for America. You know, it sounds like something that would happen here in the UK. You know, we've still got things that are locked down from World War II, I believe, and you know, we've got events, dare I say, surrounding the royal family, which, you know, whether you believe certain things have happened or not in the sort of near distant past.
Well, you mean Prince Andrew? I'll just say along the lines of Prince Andrew.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Princess Di. If you,
exactly, Lady Di.
You know, I don't, you know, I don't subscribe to anything of that. I think, unfortunately, it was a, you know, even though a great lover of the royal family, especially at the moment, now Her Majesty's gone. You know, I'm not a believer that there was anything surreptitious about that event. I think, unfortunately, it was probably just a tragic accident. But we're not going to know, because guess what? All of the files and all of the folders are probably locked up until after my kids are gone. So, yeah. But this 74-year thing sounds like something that would have been done in the UK. And I'm not saying that for it being a security state, but they do the Official Secrets Act and everything. They do lock down files for sometimes a very long time.
Okay, I got to bring this up really quick. Kathy Spire in the chat says that I would never engage with him, probably meaning me. Thomas now never allows a woman to finish a thought. I don't think I'd allow a lot of people to finish a thought sometimes, but do we have any women in the back right now? Anybody? Laura, does that sound like an honest appraisal based on what you know of me?
Not at all, Thomas. That's why I'm still here. And I'm the kind of woman that'll tell you to snip it in the bud if you were doing that.
Oh, apparently Kathy doesn't like how I deal with Tia. But Tia does go off on some different dark areas sometimes that I don't agree with, but that's okay. Tia has her own opinion.
Tia loves you.
I know.
Tia loves you. We'll come to your defense. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, everybody needs to chill out and just, you know, listen to the knowledge that you're giving us. It's invaluable.
No. Gosh, no. I'm not. Okay, I'll put it to you this way, Kathy. My husband would disagree with you completely. Leave it at that. Let's get back to the story here. Sorry, George, you have your hand up talking about this story, so let's go with it.
Yeah, mute button is on, George.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, my friend up in Finland, Henrik, works for the European Space Agency. He designed one of the probes testing temperature sensors on the Mars rover. It's a bold move to be able to like lock down information for 74 years, and to echo what Andy was saying about this is the kind of move the UK does. You know, you could talk about the Didcot inquiry, and then when those things come to light, they just get deleted, and then there is no evidence, there is no paper trail. I think it's unusual that the ESA would come out with this, considering this amount of interest in 3i Atlas. But does this, you know, the obfuscation, concealment, hiding information, why is this data not publicly available? Sure, we're all armchair astronomers and astrological kind of individuals, astronomical individuals, but I think if this information is being hidden, then if that's the case, then we should definitely push for why.
Mike, your thoughts? Sorry, I'm arguing with someone in the chat.
No, that's okay. George, you're right. It should not be held. It should all be publicly accountable. And any information that they have gotten about this
it's a public body.
Object,
it's a public body, isn't it?
Yeah, our tax dollars have paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're entitled to it. They have no real right to keep that information from the public. It's an intergalactic object. What's the fear? What's the threat?
Why is it? Why? You know, like that's the question, isn't it? Why is this being obfuscated and hidden from the general public? Is it because the information is too much for the general public to handle? Is it, you know, it's just going to fuel conspiracy theories, isn't it?
Oh, it is. So it's going to be an avalanche of conspiracy theories because of that. It's stupidity is what it is. Bollocks. They should be releasing this and making sure everybody can see it for what it is.
Yep, 100%. I agree with you, Mike. This information in the European Union, in the European Space Agency, of which I think, Andy, does the United Kingdom donate towards the space agency in Europe? Do we still pay towards our scientists going to help out? I think we do, don't we?
I believe so. And actually, a mile from where I'm sitting now, they actually manufacture some of all of the UK satellites, I believe.
Yeah.
So, I think we're
country.
Even though we're not in Europe, you know, in the greater Europe, we're still, I believe, part of the scientific, I lose words. So
community.
Thank you. Yeah, I think I've got early onset dementia, probably. So I drop words. So
if we're donating our science and our technology to the European Space Agency, does that give me, from my investment in my society, a right to know what you're doing?
Oh, I think it should, George.
Yeah. Here as another UK citizen. Yeah. You know, I'm interested in what they would have to say about it. You know, and I find it very strange why they would be locking information down.
74 years long embargo. A 74-year long embargo. Yeah. That's not 40 years. That's not 35 years. That's 75 years. That is.
I'm going to jump in on that, actually. Now, 74 years, my youngest is nearly, 13, 14? No, I forget. I lose track of that as well, but 13. So basically, she will be a very, very old woman if she's still around.
87.
So that's in my child's lifetime. That is being locked down for the whole of my child's lifetime.
Until, it comes down to your children's lifetime, because there's not a good chance that she's going to live to be so old.
Yeah.
It's a bit excessive, isn't it? Just for raw astronomical data, right? It's just like spectroscopy. Sorry, my bad. Spectroscopy data coming from 3i Atlas. My God, that's a difficult word. Try saying that every day.
spectroscopic
data. That's it. There you go, Thomas. He's got it. This information. Does anybody want to tunnel in on what
well, I'm going to follow up on that. If I don't lose my thread, but I always thought that scientific method and they all say about peer reviewing papers before they release it. The whole point of science is to release papers, and then we find out 6 months, a year, 10, 20 years that paper was wrong, and somebody's found a different scientific method. It's all about being open and honest with
public.
Not just general public, but also science itself. So if they're locking this down for 74 years, they're not just keeping it from us, they're actually keeping it from the scientific community. We keep hearing about Three Eye Atlas going on at the moment, and we have Avilu, bless him, coming out with his hypothesis. It's his hypothesis. And then people are able, because he's bringing that forward, whether you like it or not, then people can rebuff him and turn around and say, well, hang on, Avi, we don't think what you're saying is right. This is our proposal. It's all about proposing with science. Until they get a definitive answer to whatever they're looking into, then it's all science mainly is conjecture.
To a point, yeah. I mean, it's testable, but how can you test the data if it's hidden from everyone else to test, right? So how many left field scientific discoveries have come from armchair amateur scientists, right? Who propose an idea and then a testable theory, a working theory. And this data here is just being hidden. So that means none of us, anybody who's passed a high school grade science or even university grade science, is now unable for 74 years to be able to look at this data. So it begs the question, why? And just going back to what I said to Mike, it's just going to fuel the conspiracy theories 100%.
And data, I believe, George, shouldn't even be held back. Oh, they want to give it to scientists to do their peer review process and look at this shit. Why do they have to go ahead and censor it from the general public until the science community can figure out how to handle their cover-ups? It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And it's like, okay, so the only way it makes sense is if there's a concerted effort to hide information from the public. That's the only way it makes sense. If there's a concerted effort to hide information from the public.
Yeah.
For what reason? Because it's too damning, because it's too mind-opening, because it's too informative. At what point, with the constriction of information, do we go, well, it's too informative for the public to inform them? So yeah, I mean, science is a tool, and it's a useful tool, and it's worked out quite well. It's a little bit better than, say, religion. But I think for discoveries, for figuring stuff out, I'm not saying on a spiritual level that, religion cannot solve some things, and maybe it can solve some things that science cannot. But science as a tool is something we can all test and use. But if we don't have the data, then how can we use that tool? So it's you're sitting there in the field with the spade, but they've taken the spade away from you. You're not allowed to use it. Going into the soil is too dangerous.
Yeah, it is. And 74 years is unexcusable for that matter. Let's finish on with this.
74 years. Yeah, exactly, man.
Yeah, so spectroscopic data from 3A Atlas could reveal unexpected chemical signatures like unusual isotopes, rare minerals, or even biosignatures that might spark speculation. A 74-year embargo screams deliberate concealment, and it screams cover-up for that matter, maybe to control narratives, protect national interests, or religions for that matter, or delay public reaction to something groundbreaking. The ESA's got a pattern of long-term holds. For instance, their long-term data preservation scheme locks some EO space data indefinitely to keep it usable forever, backed by the common guidelines across missions. They've got cases tied to security, like shielding against cyber attacks or sensitive archives, or harmonizing access for climate monitoring without rushing raw stuff out. Means they're trying to control the narrative, right, Jay?
They control the narrative while we don't get the actual scientific evidence that we need to further science. Like, come on. Like, it actually, no. What they're doing is they're suppressing this so that they can get the jump on this before all the other scientists do.
Yeah. Well, I guess as other scientists, it's either that. I mean, because we got to look at it. We've got a very fascist / authoritarian governments that are in play in Europe at this point. UK. We have it in Australia. Now it's coming to Canada. It's the restrictions and clamping down on free speech, and them not wanting to bring the stuff out just aligns to that. Now, I honestly think we should open up our borders to refugees from these countries where they can get thrown into jail for simply saying, I am born and bred from the United Kingdom. What the hell's wrong with that?
Crazy.
Oh, I know. We've got a story on that one to cover really quick. So bizarrely, transparency is not among their strong suit. ESA's legally immune to freedom of info laws, so they can sit on bombshells without explaining. And coming from the image here, yes, they're showing these two reports coming in about 3i Atlas. The release date is January 1st, 2099. That's just freaking crazy. Doesn't make sense.
It's bureaucratic red tape that really makes no sense. It sounds like it could be borderline illegal to me as well.
But if there's nothing there, Mike, if there's no there, they should release it. But if there is something there that challenges their fascist ruling over the people of Europe and the world in this matter for keeping it out, it just, again, doesn't make sense.
No, none of this does, and it seems to be getting worse each and every day. And that should be a good segue into the next story.
Yeah. Oh, I guess I got this one here, right here, the next story. Yes. Oh, where did that go? All right, coming to us, let's say, from the UK on this one, Mike. Here we go. UK free speech crackdown sees up to 30 people a day arrested for petty offenses, such as retweets and cartoons. It'd actually be maybe more than that, because what I've heard recently is that, granted, this is coming from the New York Post, not the most reputable rag that's out there. From what I heard recently, up to 12,000 people a year are being detained in the United Kingdom for retweets and cartoons.
Which is complete bullshit. Violates all the rights that the people, the population of that country that support and defend their country and pay their tax dollars to it, are being really censored in a way that reminds me of Germany, 1939. No rights.
Yeah.
It's a dictatorship.
While they go on and go ahead and push that on Trump, you just need to look at what's going on in Canada, what's going on in the United Kingdom, what's going on in Europe, what's going on down in Australia, and look at it. It's a fascist takeover of free democracies.
Which you and I have talked about. And if the pressure keeps up against the public, as divided politically as a lot of these countries are, including our own, it's going to eventually come to a head, and there's going to be a civil war where they're going to be fighting back against this kind of oppression.
Yeah, because
it's inevitable.
Mike, if this does happen, if we know what's happening in Canada and all these places, if that continues and you get Dems back in control in the United States, you know where it's going to go in the U.S., it's going to follow that same path.
Because the pressure can only build so much before something breaks.
Now, if we can, let's get. I think
George has his hand
George,
up.
go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm based in the UK, so I have to tread a little bit carefully, because everything you say can and will be monitored by somebody else outside.
And held against you.
And held against you as well. So, you know, like how police officers actually constables of the law. They moved to traffic because it's easy to pick up somebody speeding as opposed to detecting and preventing crime, which is their primary role. So, like, to get higher up the food chain, to get promotion, you go into traffic because it's easier, right? Because it's easy just to use a speed gun on somebody. So what you're seeing now, I think, is with freedom of speeches where we're self-censoring in that kind of like situation where we're self-censoring. You can't say this. You shouldn't say this. You shouldn't think this.
Or how about this? You shouldn't bring your dogs out because now they want to have dog-free zones needed to make outdoors less racist for Islamic people.
Oh, hold on. How can owning a dog or not owning a dog be less racist or more racist? I don't understand that. That's a speciesist. A speciesist.
Exactly.
So I think kind of, you know, with the whole mantra that's coming out of the UK, and then it looks like it's moving into Europe, and as you were saying, Thomas, into Canada. During the Second World War, people protected the right to freedom of speech and freedom of expression. That's now been turned against those people.
Oh yeah.
And what you say, what you do, what you think about can be used against you. You can be broken down.
Oh gosh, here's an example. I've got one piece here. We've got a person for the 12th time. This UK resident was arrested by the Palestinian Metro Police. After 4 hours in custody, he was released without any charge of condition. He attended the pro-Hamas rally holding two messages. In my hands, he had a sign that said Hamas is a terrorist organization, which we know that it is. Across my mouth, he had a piece of tape adorned with "Save Our Kids." But there is something important that I must share with you because you deserve to know the truth. During his arrest, Officer MF 1346 violently pulled me towards the pavement. Inside the police van, the officer who detained me told Officer MF 1347, "The sign is legal. There shouldn't be any problem," to which MF 1346 said, "No, classic. Not here, not in front of this crowd." In other words, the law of the United Kingdom no longer applies to the streets of London, and all of this was recorded on their own body cameras. Looks like the police force is not here to protect us, my friend.
They're there to censor and enforce the population.
I mean, like, I could get into the nuts and bolts how acts of parliament work, and given the force of law where they're not inherent laws, I could go on one about that if you want me to. It's a little bit dark. It's basically how when you're asked for your name and address, the officer has joinder on you. And when you have joinder, then an enactment of parliament, an act of parliament, is given the force of law over you. So it's a question of whether you want to do it or not. Obviously, the police constable should use judgment on whether they enact a force of law or a parliamentary act on you. But I think the reality is the education of the Metropolitan Police, the education of our police constabulary is at issue here, because special constables in the UK, special constables don't get paid the same as regular police officers, but they understand the law better than other serving officers. So obviously an office, you know, works for a profit. It's a business, it's an office. Whereas if you address the constable, you may get a slightly different result. But I think the reality is, for me, as an English and British citizen, I'm kind of like slightly perturbed by this right-wing movement, you know, this movement towards more authoritarian control from the state. It's slightly disturbing. Yeah.
It's beyond disturbing, my friend. And we've got this one going on here, but it goes on. If you want, we're talking about the new digital ID coming to the United Kingdom, if I can get down to it here. Okay, one login privacy notice. Got to remember this. This is all coming, I think, January 1st of next year or something to the degree. First, they've announced they'll be sharing your data with other countries of their choice around the world. Data collected by Google Analytics or Dynatrace may be transferred outside of the EU economic area. But second, This is a list of the government's own website of the information they will collect so far. First name, last name, date of birth, address history, driver's license number, issuing authority for your driver's license, your issue number and issue date, your expiry date. Makes kind of sense. But now they want to track your phone numbers, all of your email addresses, all of the IP addresses you have used, the location derived from IP address and expressed as a country, for example, is Great Britain, unique account identifiers such as your Twitter account or anywhere else, information about your devices being used, including the device ID, which Apple has said it's illegal to track and use that information. They want to track your passports, your driving license, your biometric residence permits, and your identity cards. Now, while this is a hacker dreams, it's literally every bit of information about you. And do you trust the government to be able to protect all this information in one place?
Well, you know what they're going to say. If you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear. If you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear.
But that wasn't the question, George. Thomas said, do you expect the government to keep that information safe? No,
not at all. We just had a leak on Discord the other day, didn't we? 70,000 verified ID card, like passports, driving license leaked online, hacked out, and so it's like I've worked with Qualtrics a little bit. They used to do analytics for YouTube, and I contacted them a little while back about their quantum cryptography. Whether it was the annealing method, and I went through onto a government area to discuss that. But no, I don't trust them for that kind of data. I don't trust them. It's evident that if you look at the historical leaks, historical laptops being left around, military laptops being left in cafes, those kind of things, it happens more frequently than you would imagine. And all it takes is one small breach of security, and all of that data is flooded out on the internet. Then you have the doxing, the kind of people coming in after you, and all the rest of it.
I was going to say they want people's IP addresses too. What about the people that actually use like IP spoofers that you can't watch VPNs. Something that's in the U.S. You have to use like an IP spoofer so that your IP address shows up in the US so you can watch that movie or something, right, on that website.
Which means then they're going to be potentially either getting the information from the VPNs or blocking access to the VPN IPs from the range in the United Kingdom.
They were talking about making VPNs illegal.
Themselves.
Making VPNs illegal? Isn't that what they do in China?
Hey, well, we sold them the cameras, right?
Yeah, but then again, they sold.
we sold them the AI cameras. That's the UK. Like we'll
yeah, and then they went and sold back all the technology in the UK for your cellular networks and everything else, so they have access to all the data in the UK. It's just crazy.
It is crazy, and I think like the thing that's worrying is you look at historically when you start having to, your questions for your identification. You have if you don't pull out your card with your biometrics and all that details, then you're wrestled to the ground and shoveled in some kind of train or something. Do you know what I mean?
Wait a minute. It looks like they can do this to employees of Weatherspoon. Customer notice hot chocolate. Through recent government legislation changes, hot chocolate and mocha are now excluded from the free refill offer. Thank you for your understanding. Yes, there are no refills on any drinks containing sugar that could be called a sugary drink in the United Kingdom. They've made it against the law.
Yeah.
It just continues and continues and continues.
It's erosion of rights, slowly erosion of rights. So this discussion of leaving the European Court of Human Rights, I don't know if Andy has got any thoughts on this at all. European Court of Human Rights, leaving it. So like getting whipping the public up so that we leave the ECHR. So then we lose our human rights, so they can enact more authoritarian rules on us.
Well, now you would think this. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Andy.
Yeah, no, I will retort. I do have my opinions on that, but I'm not going to voice them on here, George. No worries, mate.
I'm about to fly, so if I get stopped at customs, then you'll know why.
Yeah, I have my opinions, and I hold opinions, and I hold opinions.
Yes, and you can't talk about them because if you were to say your opinions, you'd be called out in a bunch of different ways and potentially lose your job and thrown into jail.
I think human rights are a good thing. I think they're a good thing. I think we need more rights. I think we need more. Not this is what we got. I think we need more human rights. I think removing them is a bad thing.
I think the way human rights are actually, along with a lot of the laws, I could see that they need amending, but certain ways, I think, there's human rights and human rights. I think that's the issue I would have. It's how we perceive something. We would all see something and see it in a different way.
True.
So
true.
I think it's
if they need a re-scripture or a rewriting, I would be very careful about what words they use.
Yeah. So we've all seen, our blessed Prime Minister, was a human rights lawyer. I don't exactly know what he actually did. That's way above my pay grade, but
made some golden handshakes.
You never know with these people. I'm not interested in furthering myself. I could have in my own employment furthered myself. I don't want to. Don't want to do that. I want to go in. I want to do what I've got to do. I want to get paid a decent wage, go home and forget about it.
Yeah.
So, I got asked if I once upon a time, believe it or not, if I wanted to put in for management in my employment, I actually, quite frankly, because I respected the then manager, I swore at him. And I told him in no uncertain terms, no, I didn't want to do it, basically. That was because I respected the bloke. But it's just, it's all very, very touchy. If I could go off grid, I would, but
it's an idea, but I don't, free. I think when these people are getting arrested and then prosecuted, and then it turns out that they can't be prosecuted because they haven't broken any intrinsic law, which is why the discussion around those individuals are taking place at the protests, because they made the protests illegal. But if you just turn up and then you're just like waving a banner or whatever, you're not being outrageous, then you haven't intrinsically broken any law. But it's the perception of protesting is bad, to have a problem with something is bad, and this narrative that's pushed down on us. It's what if I'm upset because of my work conditions, if I have a problem with that and I go and I protest about it, is that such a bad thing?
No. You should be able to protest about stuff unless you live with a tyranny coming from a king and you're nothing but the peasants. But we're in modern day United Kingdom right now. We shouldn't be dealing with that. Like questions of I've heard whispers on the internet about civil war in America and civil war in the UK. We already had ours 300 years ago. Our system at the moment is not right, but it's like, it's getting close. It's getting close.
It works.
The people who live there are getting totally fed up with what's coming down from Keir Starmer or whatever you want, from what's coming in the government. And it's an erosion of the rights of the citizens that have inhabited that country for everywhere. Back in the day when people would come to the United States, even today, from Vietnam, from Cambodia, different countries over in Asia, different spots, the first thing people want to do is learn the language, understand it, and get there, integrate into the existing society. But it's like they're getting patted on the back to go ahead and set up a parallel society into the United Kingdom that isn't integrated with the main society that's already there. And if the main society wants to go ahead and speak up against any of the things that are going against what they're aware of, what their society is, they're getting jailed. It just does not seem right.
Well, England isn't the only one. Like in the U.S., we have President Trump that said for Palantir to gather up information on U.S. citizens.
Yeah. But this thing I've got right here, you would think this is the United Kingdom. Please be courteous to your Muslim neighbors. Many Muslims live in this area, and dogs are considered filth in Islam. Please keep your dogs on a leash and away from the Muslims who live in this community. This is in British Columbia, Canada.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, and you have to question: was that actually a Muslim who put that up, or was that somebody who wants to stir an argument?
No, you could go ahead. Look, this is actually real people. And here,
I know it's real people. I'm just saying, where did it come from? Did it come from the Muslim community, or did it come from a far right kind of crazy community?
No, George, it comes from the Muslim community. They do believe that dogs are not clean. And they are not.
I wouldn't like to comment on that one, to be fair.
No, I wouldn't, but it is real, unfortunately.
It just seems weird. But the framing of this narrative, the framing of the argument is making more contentious issues, more. It's like what's the expression? A boiler room.
Right. So if they're coming into a different society and the society has different ways it operates, you either come in, you adapt to the society and become part of it, or go back to wherever you can find that kind of a life. But they don't want to go back there. They want to bring their stuff here, when in reality they should be adopting to the cultures and society of their new home. But it doesn't happen exactly the way that it should.
I could tell a story about when I lived in Finland, and a Iranian Persian and a Somalian had an argument, and I had to stop them from getting into knife attacks with each other. Because
here's an example, really quick, coming from Welsh. Breaking counselor reported to the police for saying she was born and bred in Falkirk. I wish I was joking, but...
Is that against the law to say you were born and bred in Falkirk?
Yes, but there is there is a 22-page police dossier filed for her quote-unquote offensive remarks. She will now be questioned by the police, and most likely she will be... Here we go.
Trying my hardest to bring community cohesion. I've been overwhelmed with the contacts I've had from people within Falkirk. And, there is a true unrest, and it's scary. It's scary as a local resident, somebody who's born and bred here. I shouldn't have said that.
Well, do you see why this is? People sometimes think that reform are very much against having people here.
It just came out.
That's unfortunate for you, I guess, but ultimately, do you see why people who aren't from here, who have maybe made their home here, are annoyed when they hear an elected official say that people are born and bred here?
But you know what? If they're annoyed, that's fine. They should. It doesn't matter. You're here, or you're all citizens of the UK. It doesn't matter where you're born and bred. If someone says that, they can say it. The other people said, I was born and bred, insert country name here, but now I live in the United Kingdom and I love it. But it's like, literally, we have the thought police, the grammar police, going after just...
Oh, Thomas, 100%. It's thought police right there. It's like I used to read a local comic called 2000 AD based in the UK, and you have the Judge Dredd. You may have heard of Judge Dredd. The ultra cop. And then you have the psionic division, the psi division, who don't even think about breaking the law. Don't even think about it, because we're going to pick up on that. And now we're all carrying these smartphones. Everything's been recorded in real time, or your emotional recognition systems, these kind of things. It's where's it going to end? What's your prediction? What's your prediction?
I don't know, but let's just get into this. The complaint claims that Mackie Brown's born and bred comment could be considered insulting to asylum seekers by implying their lesser legitimacy. This was argued could be considered a breach of Public Order Act 1986 under offenses for intentionally causing harassment, alarm, or distress. It also argues that the comment is exclusionary and discriminatory, which it claimed could constitute a breach of the requirements on counselors to avoid language which could, quote, reasonably be perceived, end quote, to be discriminatory. The complaint said that the phrase born and bred carries specific connotations in immigration discourse, particularly when contrasted with the presence of asylum seekers. So they're putting what's going on and the thoughts of asylum seekers coming in over their actual citizens who have lived in the country their whole life. It just blows my mind.
100%, and I just think it's a backward step, right? What's changed in the last 10 years? What's happened in the last? Well, that's what's happened in
the last couple of years. You had labor takeover with Keir Starmer opening up the, if you want to call it, the immigration situation going on.
Rishi Sunak was the same. Theresa May was the same. You know, it seems to me
no,
that
not like now. It wasn't the same.
It doesn't really matter left wing, right wing, who's in government, who's in charge. The agenda is always pushed to gain more power for those people who wish it. You know, the emergence, you grant emergency
You can't
powers.
have churches chiming the bells at the time for mass because it's offensive to Islamics, but you can have them blasting their horns 5 times a day starting at 5 o'clock in the morning. There's no equal footing. There's a raised preference and perceived preference for those that are new coming here and to take over their new cultures away from the cultures that have been in that society for hundreds of years.
It just speaks volumes about the actual government itself that we elect not knowing what to do or how to handle things. And that happens in America as well. You elect, like Republican, Democrat, it doesn't really matter. It's whether, are they handling the situation? And it's for the last, 20 years, it just appears to me that they're not handling the situation. They don't know what to do. There are new, it's like Hollywood. There's no new scripts.
Hello?
There's no new scripts. There's no new ideas, right? And it's just like, well, hey,
Yes, I'm here. Go ahead. Sorry about that. I'm Thomas from Costco. You're probably calling about the Android app?
Gene wanted to come in on this one?
Yeah, just real quick, share some long time experience, going back in the military and working in government circles. Back in the 90s, when
I just deal with stuff with the
deployed to Saudi Arabia.
That's it, nothing else.
When we deployed to Saudi Arabia, and then Somalia, and then in Iraq, as U.S. troops, and then working with British troops in these same areas and compounds, we weren't able to. We had to be so sensitive. So even on the military compounds, there were no religious services. There were morale services. You went to a Charlie morale services for the Christians, or a Papa morale service for the Protestants that were there.
Right.
When we again Desert Storm era, we could go into the community. All the women soldiers had to wear the abayas and dress, and we had to learn all the customs and courtesies everywhere we went. If you were there during Ramadan, and we had posts where it was an American or a Brit on one side, and then you had a Saudi on the other side of the same post, and it was during Ramadan. 12-hour shifts, we would get our meals, and we had to hide that we were eating so we didn't offend the troop across from us who was fasting.
Oh my God! What happened to banter? What happened to having a laugh? What happened to joking and like comedy and just relaxing?
But but even then, at that time, we were like, okay, yes, we're the military. We are guests in the country. We will, respect these cultural things. Like, that was so embedded in us, to respect the culture of the place that you were in. It's something I learned in the military. It's something I carried with me, throughout my civilian career, and I've been everywhere, and I've done it everywhere. So, the idea, whether it's the U.S. or the UK, that we still jump through hoops to now appease the people coming in, is just mind-boggling, because it's like, well, you know, we did it for where we are, so we know that that's what you need to do when you go somewhere else. Our politicians know when you go to a new nation, you learn the customs and courtesies, and you're respectful of that. Yet they don't want to enforce it or represent that in their own home nations. That's what is a disconnect in my mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a disconnect, and I think you know, moving forwards with this situation in the UK, rolling out into potentially Europe, and then rolling out into Canada, and then potentially rolling out into the United States. You know, Andy, do you think this ID, you know, how if you could project into the future, if this was rolled out, how would you feel if the USA started rolling out identity cards? Do you think that's even workable in the United States of America? Is that even workable?
Oh, fuck no.
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 Might very, very succinctly put it there. Yeah. I'm going to say, for me, you know, it's all very well these people, and I'm going to say, use the American word spitballing. I think, you know, for banding about a comment, I believe that's sort of roughly the right way. I can be shot down. And, you know, it's all very well people bringing this out. Now we know Tony Blair tried to bring this in many years ago. Mm-hmm. It depends on the uptake. Are they gonna, if everybody takes it up, then it's acceptable, okay? But then if nobody, it's supposedly going to be some app that you install on your phone that they're on about. Now, what happens if nobody installs this app? Are they going to arrest every single person that doesn't? You know, we're in the UK. We're a lot smaller country than America, but have they got the capacity to arrest and prosecute 100,000 people, 1 million people, 10 million people, 60 million people, whatever it is in this country now? You know, we barely got the capacity to house our inmates at the moment. So they say they're releasing people after only serving a couple of months.
You're releasing people. If I could bring this up really quick, you're releasing people who are
suspended sentences. I think this is where time will tell if they attempt.
But Andy, I think what's been going on, I've been seeing lately, they've been releasing rapists, but taking people who make social media offensive remarks and locking them up in prison.
Potentially,
like the traffic cop. It's easier. It's a quick promotion. Hey, look, I solved this crime. You know, let's put the resources on social media instead of solving aggravated assault, you know, grievous bodily harm, these kind of situations. It's much easier to like, well, hey, I'm going to work traffic and like pull a car in doing 75 and a 70. So it's easier to put your resources, and then you can massage the figures and say, hey, look, the police are doing amazing. We're solving all these crimes. We're stopping all these crimes, you know. And actually what you're doing is jumping on people on social media as opposed to solving or detecting and preventing actual, you know, ones that are bad.
Yeah, I'm going to give an example of what I've experienced. You know, I live in in the north of Bristol here in the UK. It's a fairly quiet area. You know, there's not a lot that goes on. I was at my local shopping centre a couple of times where we've got several superstores, and I was in a pharmacy, a very well known UK brand, and I happened to look over, and it was the for scents, aromas, perfume counter area that they had. This person came into the shop with a carrier bag. They went up to the shelf. They went like this, whole load of perfumes into their carrier bag. I shouted to the woman, "You got a shoplifter!" Oh, we can't do anything. We have to let them go. This person didn't even run out. They walked out of the shop. I had it on another occasion where I was walking just a couple of doors in this block of superstores, and it was one of the store members. A couple of the store members came out and they confronted this group of people who were shoplifting, and they actually I made sure that I had a shopping shopping trolley full of quite a weighty shopping trolley. And I sort of stood behind these people just in case it kicked off. I was going to ram them with the shopping cart, you know. But they recovered the goods off of these people, but there were no police called. There was nothing done. These people were not arrested, nothing. They got to carry on. I bet the very next day they went in, or even later that day, they probably went in and did the same. This is where I have real issues that crime, proper crime, isn't getting dealt with because these police officers are either being tasked and they haven't got the kahunas, they haven't got the balls to stand up to their higher commands and say, well, hang on, no, we don't want to be dealing with this stuff. We need to be dealing with the proper stuff. So
it's like the difference between a crime number and a book number. You can get a crime number and it's not reported in the crime statistics. If you get a book number, it has to be investigated. But I think kind of just like, you know, coming back to what Gene said about being in the Middle East and, you know, discussing with foreign troops, like being briefed on, you know, like a courteous discourse without actually, you know, I understand diplomacy. I understand kind of the ability to kind of present yourselves in a certain way, but to actually be briefed to say, hey, don't say this, don't say that, be sensible here, be sensible. You know, this is self-censorship without allowing to be yourself. It seems to be prevalent now, and I'm not sure why that we all have to be so self-censoring. You know, not so we probably need to be more self-expressive.
I guess we need to be less worried about having people file a hurt feelings report, and that seems to be what's going on. We used to joke about that back in the early 2000s. We used to have a form at the office called the hurt feelings report that people could fill out if they felt that their feelings were hurt, offended. But that's where you're at right now.
I am offended by the rhetoric, yeah, for sure. It's just...
But there's consequences of going to jail for years for people, but not even hurting people's feelings, but for potentially saying something that could hurt someone's feelings.
I knew somebody recently, he'd been arrested for something he didn't do. It was an accusation. He didn't get prosecuted. He didn't go to court. He didn't serve any jail time. But the simple fact he'd been arrested meant that when he flew internationally, they jumped on him hard. Just to grill him. 2 hours in a room with somebody saying, hey, look, you know, you've been arrested. And that was just somebody accusing from a distance. There was no basis to it.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
It seems to be a problem, my friend. If we can, just to get back to the disclosure for a bit, we have a video clip from yesterday we're going to go ahead and play here, where Representative Tim Burchett openly talks about the pitfalls of disclosure, and disinformation campaigns, the red herrings, the possible traps, and he shares his thoughts about disclosure and why he feels that it won't happen. I know we jumped into UK stuff here for a bit. It's important. We haven't even gotten to Canada yet, but on that note, let's go ahead and play this little clip here and enjoy it. Here we go, everybody.
Flags. So how many military personnel have you spoken to about their personal experiences with these things?
I'd say, well, I don't know, 8 or 9, 10 maybe. You know, but I have to be real careful because I'm clearly somebody out there and I'm not backing down on it. I'm not ashamed of it or anything, but
You have no reason to be ashamed of it.
No.
Why would you be ashamed of it?
Well, that's what they try to do, is they try to shame people.
Oh, are you hiding relevant secrets from the American public? I don't think you are.
No, but
why aren't they ashamed?
Well, I have to be careful about the white flags, the stuff people bring me that's not real.
Well, that's why we're talking to you.
Yeah, well,
I've had a lot of people come to me with stuff like that.
Yeah, and I've got these pictures, and I want to show you this. I've got this. You know, I'm always afraid I'm going to end up in a refrigerator.
Mike, I want to bring this up really quick. This is actually a quote and everything right now that Representative Eric Burleson could learn from.
Yeah.
Because and even Anna Polina Luna, who's brought up stuff from the trolls on X, and they're reading this stuff, they're believing it, and then they're parroting this disinformation that's purposely being put out there.
Yeah. They should know better. They should not repeat disinformation that's out there on social media. And they should only speak information they got from trusted sources. But they're not doing that.
No.
So Tim is right. No, it's a very good point, Thomas.
Absolutely. Let me continue back with this. Here we go.
Up in North Carolina, or a freezer in North Carolina somewhere, you know, because I'm not going up there and checking out some guy's finds he's got, and But
do you think so? I think what you're saying is the disinformation campaign run by whomever. Maybe
it's real.
Well, it's definitely real, and I assume it's run by the U.S. government or its satellites and the defense contractors. But part of the way that they discredit people who are interested in finding out what this is by telling them false things, and then
they tried to destroy their careers. They did that to one of our guys. One of the very first person, the first hearing we had, if you remember, some weekly newspaper reporter found out that one of the guys suffered from PTSD because of his military career. You know what? In Tennessee, we embrace that. My daddy fought on Peleliu in Okinawa, and to the day he died, I never woke him up over the top of him. I always woke him up by his big toe, because he might have woke up on one of those dadgum islands and pinned me up against the wall. And we celebrate our heroes. But Washington, D.C. just destroys them. And to think that a weekly newspaper found out this guy's medical history, which is a total violation of the law. Somebody should go to jail for it, but nobody did. They tried to destroy this guy. And that's what happens to people in Washington, D.C. That's what happens to our military heroes when they step out of line because of the sewer or deep state or whatever you want to call it. But that's what they are. And that's why we need real whistleblower protection for them.
Well, I agree with that completely, which we don't have.
No.
And by the way, I know 2 whistleblowers who are living outside the country because they can't come to the United States.
Sure. And I'll have people I've had people call me. One last thing, I'm in the Longworth building. It's no secret. It's public record. But I've had people that'll call me or send a message to me and want to come by. And they won't come in that building and ask me if I can come outside. I've had people call me and want to come to the house in East Tennessee, and because they don't want to come to Washington, D.C. and talk to me. There's a well-publicized television show that was on for a while that I didn't know they were coming. I mean, they said some people wanted to talk to me, and it was a trusted friend. And I said, sure, send them, bring them up, come on up to D.C. And I said, well, they don't want to come to D.C. And they drove from wherever to my house in East Tennessee on a Saturday afternoon, and then they put some stuff on a screen that was pretty compelling.
What was it?
It was aircraft flying at just crazy stuff that we can't do that would turn you or me into basically a catch-up package. It was not.
No human being could handle the G-force.
No, not at our. Well, with the technology we have, the G-force would just tore them apart. And was it unmanned or whatever? I don't know. But these guys, and one of them was they were scientists. Several of them were scientists, and they
came to see you.
They came to see me. Yeah, and because it's kind of.
Wait, so what do you do with that information?
I try to grasp it within my very small brain. And what am I supposed to do with that? I ask God all the time, what do you want me to do with this stuff, Lord? And right now I'm just got to get enough disclosure. I've come to the realization that nothing is ever going to happen, Tucker, until we have somebody in the White House that says enough is enough and just discloses it. And I hope President Trump, I have discussions with him privately and other times, and I'm not, I've talked to his people, but at some point there's several of us, Luna and myself and several others, that are concerned about this issue, and we want some answers.
Yeah, I think we all want some answers on this, my friends. If disclosure is out there, there's a truth we need to get to the bottom of. But as far as our government, it seems like, Mike, the cover-up is never going to end.
So far, 80 years and going, Thomas.
Yeah.
And we're not really moving the goalpost down the road yet. But it's not going to come from the government. We're not going to get what we're looking for from the government. It's going to come from people who have information that will have catastrophic disclosure and bring the truth out to the public and to the world. So when that day comes, we'll get the answers we're looking for.
Andy, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mike's just brought up, and it's something that I'm actually 100% believing is the only way we'll get any kind of disclosure, is catastrophic disclosure, good, bad, or indifferent. We've just, and I put a comment in chat, and I don't know many American politicians, only the ones we talk about Tim and everything, and for me, Tim is one of the, if not the only, one of the very few with actual, he is worthy of praise. And for a politician, I would if I ever met him, I'd shake his hand. I think he's one of the very, very few who's got any form of integrity. But we've seen he's been, yes, he should have got chair of the committee, but obviously we know it went to Luna. She might be more hungry for a position than Tim is. I don't know. But I also think it possibly because Tim is so straight down the line with this subject. I think that's probably one of the reasons why he was kept from it, from being put in the chair. I can't see us going anywhere. I've been part of this show for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now, and I've been coming in the back for a good portion of that now, and we aren't really any further
Andy,
down the line.
You're one of the reasons, you are probably the main reason we have the UK show.
Yeah.
You appreciate your participation in ways that you don't understand.
And you're very kind to put it on, and not just for myself, for all of my fellow UK viewers. And
because you deserve a show that you can watch on a Saturday evening at 10 p.m. local time and enjoy the conversation, be a part of it, have a way to talk with it, and not just having to watch reruns from the United States, right?
Yeah, and in some ways, I'm very fortunate. I'm up when you have your time broadcast. Unfortunately, you might be.
But luckily, you work late into the night, so when you get home at times,
I work all night, mate. I don't. I think I'm a bit of a vampire personally. I sleep in the day when I can, and and again, since joining the show, it's very hard here in the UK to get any kind of information on this subject. We used to have a UFO magazine it was about. I'm also a member of a UFO group, which unfortunately, because of my work hours, I don't get to attend their meetings very often, nowhere near as much as I'd like. So coming on your show is the only way that I've actually been able to gain any kind of information.
Yeah,
really. Seeing some of the other shows and individuals that have been in, it's I pick and choose who I want to get information from, and I've been with this show. But I really do think, as much as we talk, and I love talking on this show, and I love being a part of it and chatting in chat with everybody, I really do believe the only way we're ever going to get anything is for catastrophic disclosure.
You're here, my friend. Tia, what do you think? Do you think we're going to get anything besides catastrophic disclosure? By the way, I love you, girl.
Love you too. No, I don't. I think that's how we're going to have to get it.
Yeah.
I really do. I agree.
The government's not going to give us anything. We got to fight for it. And by the way, I like your red background. Matches my new hoodie.
Thank you.
And your red shirt in the picture. There we go.
Yes, sir. I think that I'm so disappointed that in President Trump, that I really, really, really felt like he was the one. I really am holding hope out for him in his administration. I really hope, he hasn't even been in there a full year yet. He's still got 3 more to go. And I don't know, even if, though, he brought it out right now, half of the country wouldn't even believe him.
They wouldn't, would they?
No. So it's like, what in the hell, what point is it if half of the country isn't going to take him serious?
I think he needs to go ahead and declare that that oxygen is good for your health.
Oh my God, I know. They would stop breathing. That'd be so hilarious.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be from people like you that bring it out. And That's how it's going to have to come out. I mean, or they can just come down and land and say, "What's up, guys?" Long lost sister and brother from I don't know.
What's up?
You never know.
Yeah. Oh, Jay's here. Or UFO report. This is Steve.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, just a quick comment. Love quoting Gene Stecco because I'm still obsessed with his engineering infinity. So follow up to what T said. My sincere opinion is his book, which is nothing more than the Science and Engineering Journal, the Cold War era Soviet scientists' reverse engineering of either observations of or an actual hands-on flying saucer, for lack of a better term. That is disclosed. Yet, for many reasons which Gene could explain, and which I think I agree with most of them, for God's sakes, people of the world, he released that back in November of 24, yet it's like lost in a noise. And so we do, we get recognition from folks like you, thank God, but it is so bizarre how it didn't make it to Capitol Hill. But there's a disclosure right there. And for God's sakes, it jives with everything he's been saying about reverse engineering during that UFO reverse engineering race during the Cold War. That's a hell of a disclosure, for God's sakes. And there it is right there, but has not been majorly acknowledged, just within, let's call it the alternative mainstream, such as you folks and other shows. So that's just a follow-up, kind of stating the obvious, but nonetheless, that's a hell of a disclosure, but has not made it to Capitol Hill for even touching on in one sentence. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Mike, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, no, I agree. Gene bringing that information after 40 years of remaining hidden from the Soviet Union out to the public was a step in the right direction for us getting to the truth about disclosure. And you and I are also aware that there are very good people who are scientifically knowledgeable, doing real research into this topic to come up with real answers for the public that the government will not provide for us. And you know what? They're doing really good work. Just like Gene did with bringing that information out from his father-in-law, who was a Soviet scientist. So I think that we can't depend on the government for the truth, but there are people who are actively working to bring the truth out to the public. And I think we're going to get there. It's just something that we're going to have to be patient, and sooner or later we'll get the answers that we're looking for. And then when that happens, the government is going to have to play catch up and explain what they've been hiding and lying about all this time.
Well, explaining what they've been hiding and lying about. No, not really. I like to understand. I was just looking up. I know, Gene, your hand is up next. You're going to be on a podcast coming up soon. But when I searched your name to try and find that podcast to give you a kick, I had no idea you ran for president. You were trying to run for president 2 years ago.
I did. Yeah,
cool. Love it.
For the 2024 campaign, I was inspired early on, actually, by President Biden's claims that he had no idea what Putin was doing on the Ukrainian border, and I was like, well, I've known about it for 20 years, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and run, and I raised a total of $175, proving that I am immune from big money and big corporate spending. And as I looked at the results pour in on election night, and I saw there was about 2% others, I figured that was for me.
Yeah.
But I was just going to add to follow up, to Jim's comment and what Mike had added about the papers and disclosure and the rest of it. As the old saying goes, I don't believe in coincidence, but I don't believe in conspiracy, but I also don't believe in coincidence, however that goes. I think with the amount of effort I was putting forward early in the summer, I do not think it's any accident that we heard Knapp talking about Russia at the hearing. I don't think it's any accident we've heard Luna talk about, oh, maybe I should go talk to the Russians and see what they know. Because I know that body of work wound up in David Grush's hands. And, you know, as Jim said, I think there's a number of political sensitivities about how you use it. Now, they could have engaged directly and you know, brought me into the fold to some degree, at least at a staff briefing, so I could, you know, lay it all out. But, you know, it is what it is. But I don't think it's for naught.
Yeah.
And I don't need the attaboy. I know in my heart, they didn't, after 40 years, they didn't just suddenly decide, oh, let's go ahead and look at this.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone else in their back. Yeah, I appreciate you, Gene. I appreciate your candor on that and talking about that. I just had no idea. And I love the thought of what you did, because it's true. And did you hear the latest news that came out that there was actually intelligence reports that were coming from the CIA that was during was it Biden administration or before that? I think when Biden was VP and under the Obama administration, that the CIA was going to release information that was coming from within Ukraine that was saying the United States government is compromised and has like 2 tiers of way of dealing with stuff. And they specifically mentioned the Biden administration. And because of that, they went to Joe and they shut down the dissemination of this information that should have flowed through the agencies because he was dirty.
Well, it's incredible because, you know, and again, don't forget, in my past life, I was doing this kind of work inside the oil and gas industry. So Ukraine was one of my countries that I can't count the numbers of times I was back and forth, that I know a lot of people intimately well there. The Burisma people, I know. I got a lot of stories, a lot of insight. And I have a great video. I'll send it to you. It's about an hour long, but it's actually a press conference from Ukraine where they're playing all the Joe Biden tapes and everything like that. And I think there was some other, you know, news story that broke right around that time. But they lay out, it's the Ukrainian authorities laying out the entire case against the Bidens that just, you know, went unnoticed.
Yeah. It seems to go on. Absolutely. Great stories, though, my friend.
Some campaign pins, Thomas. So I think there's a few left. So
I'd love to have one. That'd be great. I could wear it on my nice red hoodie that I got. I saw it. I love red flannels and everything. And I saw this on Amazon last night. It was on sale at slickdeals.net. It's a great place to go to find deals, my friend. It was $10. And it's like, okay, I'm done with the blue hoodie for now. I need a different color. Red works fine. And they said,
Polly always says if she got any commercial endorsement, she'd want it to be the dollar store. Oh yeah, she's a huge
Dollar General. But we don't have Dollar General here in Washington State. Unfortunately, we did have a dollar store, but it did shut down.
Yeah. Can't be. And
Little Red Riding Hood Fessler. I guess I could be Little. No, I don't want to be rid of Little Red Riding Hood. No, thanks.
And they're $1.50 now, Gene. No longer $1. Nothing is.
Come on, we want the 5 dime and 25 cent store from Ben Franklin's again, all across the United States. We deserve it.
Oh, Woolworths. Yeah, everything was cheap back then.
Ben Franklin, 5 dime and 25 cents. I remember as a kid going to the Ben Franklin store back in Edison, Illinois.
I remember the Woolworth company, 5 and 10 cents they had back here in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. But gee, next time you want to run for president, you come here and we'll put you on the disclosure movement and we'll get votes for you.
That might be the trick. One of my a friend of mine, we were trying to get up to Dixville Notch in New Hampshire. So, you know, about 3 hours from here, and he's like, if we can at least win the 4 votes there, that would be the that would be the thing to do. So there we have a strategy.
Oh yeah. And it can work. It can.
Yeah. We can give you more than 4 votes. And it seems like at the end of this administration, they're going to be scrambling for who they're going to have to run. That's going to be interesting too. Yeah.
I do have a video clip. Since this is the recap of the week, I do have one more video clip to play, Mike.
Of 10?
We've got the whistleblower that came forward on weaponized. Would you like to hear that one?
Yeah, you know what? Considering the conversation that you and I had earlier today before the show, yeah, we should play that one.
All right,
it's
let's
very
get
good.
to it. One last clip. We got 2 hours. Let's have fun with this anyway. So here we go, Mike. Let's bring it up. Make sure I'm on the bookmark. Bring it up. His name is Daniel Gockerell. He was at Eglin Air Force Base. Let's listen to his story of where he came from, what he did, and more importantly, what he saw. Here we go, folks. Let me jump into the back, and here we go.
My name's Daniel Gockerell. In 2006, February to March timeframe, I don't have a definitive date, but I was in the very last stage or phase of Ranger School, and I had a bad jump, and I sustained an L1 compression fracture and some pretty good TBI, traumatic brain injury. But it was mainly the back, and because of that, I was housed in a little medical facility right there in Eglin Air Force Base, and which is down near Destin, Florida, Panama City Beach, Florida, right on the panhandle there. So I woke up one night. I was woken up one night because I heard a large engine powering up and then powering down. It was shaking the building. It's a small building, couple beds in the little medical bay, and then they had a little staff duty CQ specialist there. And I think he was a specialist or sergeant, but he was manning the desk, in case anything happens, has to wake us up. Fire watch, basically.
Yeah.
And I got out of my bed. I was in a framed, kind of keeps your back straight. It's like I felt like a robot. Wasn't supposed to walk. I had these crutches, and I get out of my bed, and I make it to the staff duty desk. The staff duty kid was there. He was watching the movie. He had his headphones on, so he was more or less oblivious to the sound. And after exchanging pleasantries, because I wasn't supposed to be out of bed and I wasn't supposed to be upright, I asked him what this sound was, and he said that it's just the Air Force testing stuff, right? So I bum a cigarette from him. I step outside and I look to my left, and about, I would say, 300-400 yards, there was a clearing, and surrounding this clearing is these high mass portable generator lights like they use on construction for in roadways that you see and stuff, and highways and stuff like that. And I saw Humvees, military personnel out there, look like, and some black SUVs. And I see hovering about 15 to 20 feet off the ground, this giant, maybe 300 or so feet in length aircraft. There was no visible cockpit, no visible, like,
Just looking at this really quick as I was bringing it up, this is the Air Force Base Hospital where he was at. If you look at that, there aren't really any runways or anything going on that are even remotely close to the facility where he was at. So if he was seeing something, it was most likely off in this particular area away from the hospital, because if you look on the other side of the hospital, you're seeing it's mostly trees and everything going around. So something was definitely going on in Eglin at that point. I just want to give an idea for our audience to understand what he's talking about. Here we go.
Traditional fuselage or engine, like I couldn't see it. It was different to me. So right about the time I get out and I notice this, it hovers. It goes straight up, and when I say hover, I don't mean in a traditional sense. So when you think about any fixed wing aircraft, any bird that we have known to man right now, even a rotary bird, it oscillates when it hovers. This just goes straight up, and it's dead quiet. Nothing, not a sound. I could hear the buzzing from the generator lights, right? So this gets about to the canopy, like height, a little over the canopy, and does a slight bank and takes off, and it rips right over the canopy, like looks like it was heading northeast. And which I'm guessing, I honestly couldn't remember. Just, I don't know. Sometimes, you know, you feel like you know your cardinal directions, like which way's home. Anyway, this aircraft, when it banks, I can see that it's a perfect triangle, and it's gigantic, and it has a white light at each apex of the triangle and a large white light in the center. And it takes off and it zips out of sight.
Really quick, folks, have been watching the show so far. You haven't subscribed, do us a favor, give us a subscribe. And for those out there that are subscribed, give us a like. If not, if you're not happy, give us a dislike. But tell us in the comments what you like or dislike about the show. We appreciate your feedback and everything we do here. We appreciate everybody. Sometimes we get into more controversial topics, like Kathy Spire didn't like what we're talking about. We lose subs, and we would love to have you as a subscriber here at Disclosure Tonight. Especially, why, Mike?
Because if you're enjoying the content, we give you a double your money back guarantee. And of course, the price is always free. So please like and subscribe.
Please do,
You're
friends.
enjoying the show.
We appreciate your love and support for everything we do here at Disclosure Tonight. Here we go.
I mean, mock something we don't know. And I mean, it takes off. And the biggest shock to me at that point was there was no audible report. There was nothing, like something going that fast, it's going to bust the sound barrier, you're going to hear it. And I didn't. I heard nothing. And at that point, again, it was just the buzzing of the generator lights out there. I watched this as I'm smoking my cigarette, seemingly do several touch and goes, but it doesn't go down at that little drop zone that it took off. It just comes back, stays there for a second, couple seconds, and then takes off again. Comes back, stays there for a couple seconds, takes off again. And at that point, I grew bored of it, and I was impressed, obviously. But I'm like, okay, this is our military testing some awesome technology. And, you know, again, this isn't my wheelhouse, so I'm not, you know, I'm not really realizing that this is some sort of 0-point energy or something that we've never seen before. So it's nothing like I've ever seen before. I've never seen any military or civilian bird have the capabilities that something like this has. Again, there's no signage, there's no visible cockpit, fuselage. You know, there's nothing that I can see that, you know, would make me think it's any kind of traditional bird that we've seen or I've heard about. It takes off, and I go back inside, and that's it. So the biggest thing to me, and when we were discussing it, is the notable observations, and that there's the zero oscillation, right? The propulsion and noise, there was no audible report, no hum, nothing. What was it? It lacked like an obviously visible cabin, any signage, engine housing, exhaust systems, and it's the sheer speed that was, you know, one of the most notable things. So.
Conversation, Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's interesting because it shows that there is a lot of activity by Eglin Air Force Base. It has to do with a triangle craft, and this is something that we keep hearing about. We were listening to information about this, well, not his story, but about triangles in the meeting we had before the show. So
yeah,
this means that this activity is known. Plus, Ivan's client, Michael, who's now on social media, he also had an encounter with the triangle craft, and it seems to be something that is connected right back to the United States with a technology that they are not willing to share with the public, unfortunately.
Top secret, my friend. You know how it goes.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
Jay has his hand up.
Yeah, when I talked to Timothy Phillips, that raises a good question. When I talked to Timothy Phillips on my podcast, the former Aero director or executive, whatever he was for Aero, when I talked to him, he said that they were mostly invested in investigating the black triangles. That's what they were invested in investigating. Like the rest of them, he said they were investigating, but they didn't have enough evidence to the black triangles. And I said, oh, that's interesting.
I love to ask Timothy Phillips about the invisible chevron-shaped craft. That's the kicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Jay, didn't you try to get Tim back on the show recently?
No, not yet. No, not yet.
Because I thought he mentioned something about no longer doing interviews at this time, is what I heard. But I could be wrong. But if you can get him,
I think he is not doing any more interviews right now.
That's what I heard. But you have a direct line to him, so you could always find out, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. I could ask him if he's still doing them or not.
Right. And the reason is because Ivan's client, Michael, who has been coming out on social media, is speaking about his interaction with Tim Phillips and is looking to be able to speak with him again. Because
Mike, do you think Tim Phillips is actually going to take his demands? I don't think Tim Phillips is going to say shit. I think he's going to stay in the shadows. What do you think?
I think you're right. I think that's what it looks like.
He's already had more than enough people like Susan Goff ringing his bell, literally. Ring the bells.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, he doesn't want to be confronted with a lot of the information that he's been putting out there because it's not good. And this goes back to Ivan's client who presented information to him at Arrow that had videotape and pictures of the Black Triangle. And then Eric Burleson had taken the same information, ran it by members of deep within Black intelligence within the government, and they wanted to know what civilian was able to get access to that information.
This is Ivan Hannell, his attorney, correct?
Correct. So Burleson actually confirmed that what Michael had brought forward is accurate. And Tim Phillips said that it was not. So Tim Phillips obviously proven wrong by Representative Burleson. And Michael wants to confront him about that. But you're right, he's not going to do that, certainly not publicly or privately. But Jay could always reach out and see what he could find out for us. Right, Jay?
Yeah.
Yes, of course I can. I'm going to write something up right now, and I'll send it out tomorrow and find out.
And let us know.
I definitely will.
Mike, I think there's someone looking at you.
Oh, God. Did you really? Is this how we wrap up the week, for God's sake?
This is how we close out the week with your sweetheart, Susan Goff.
Wonderful.
I think she's got more of a 5 o'clock shadow than you've got, my friend.
Yeah, probably. And also, this is a holiday weekend. We have Columbus Day on Monday. So what you're doing is you're murdering my erection for the weekend for no goddamn reason. Not appreciated, my friend.
Oh, your wife is not going to be happy, but it's that kind of person you can bring into your mind when you don't want to end it just yet.
Yeah, well, it's not really impressive.
Oh yeah,
I'm not. Yeah. Oh yeah. Sure. Please. Why don't you zoom in? Thank you, Thomas.
Of course I have.
God,
as Todd T says, free birth control.
Yeah.
Kathy says, Lord have mercy, Thomas. I know, you got to have fun with it. Thank you, Susan, for going ahead and being on my desktop. Let me hide you. Thank God. Thank you, Ivan. We appreciate Ivan so much more.
Right now.
Oh my God. And YouTube is getting buffered like crazy because we brought up Susan's picture. What's going on? The DOD is trying to shut us down, Mike. I think that's a signal.
The only thing that she could do is shut down erections.
Yeah.
Very good at it.
Oh, well.
I know. I can speak from firsthand.
Oh,
knowledge.
I got something else that can shoot down erections. There you go. That's your fantasy.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Really?
Oh. You got to have fun with it, Mike. You got to have fun with it.
Yeah.
I know. I guess that means it's that time of the night, my friends.
Yes, it is.
I want to thank everybody for your super chats. I think before the show started, Brendan England gave us a super chat, my friend. I want to thank everybody for your wonderful super chats for tonight, for everything we've done here. We're talking about Brendan England. Faisal, thank you very much. Motivation, thank you very much. Peggy and her South Florida friends, love you, Peggy, and your furry friends, and Steve, big hug. Wish we could be there with you in Miami because it's cold and rainy and horrible in Seattle. More importantly, I also want to thank Daryl Zernick. Thank you very much for your love and support of everything we do here at Disclosure Tonight. Hopefully all those channels I passed on to you last night are worth it, especially Tyler and your daily dose of crime. On that note, my friends, I want to thank everybody for coming out to this this evening's episode. Mike, thank you for being here, my friend.
Oh, my pleasure. It was a fun show. We covered a lot today.
Oh, yeah.
It was really nice to have members of the UK come and join us.
And we didn't even get to the good shit in Canada. We stayed in the UK because it's a UK show, but people in Canada, I would have gone further, but we're missing Mike. I mean, not Mike. We're missing... oh, God, who's usually from Canada?
Sokoloff.
Mike Sokoloff, yeah, we're missing Mr. Sokoloff. You were supposed to be here, and I was going to cover all the Canada stuff. We're missing him. We're missing our friend, Freezer Man. Love you, my friend. Hopefully you're still watching and everything's going good. Big hugs. Our friends in Canada.
Yeah, well, next time.
Yeah, absolutely. On that note, Mike, as we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure Tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody, but... Wrong one.
Go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. We'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. We'll see you soon. Take care now. And Ed, why did you leave already? You're our recliner in chief. Love you, my friends. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Take care.